Alright, so game number 1 is against Yellow Kid, commonly known as Piss Kid, but Yellow Kid nonetheless. The variant that we are playing right now against him is the Burn variant. This, even with the Burn variant being the better variant in my opinion into this matchup, it still feels kind of like an uphill battle. He's just able to burn just as good, if not better than us, and he's able to guarantee a big blocker turn after turn, unlike us. So here we do at least get to go second, so we're on our optimal curve. He did play that 3 cost just to have a 5k to be able to swing the next turn, and he did just want to have it as a blocker too, just in case. And I will say, this is, if you play against Yellow Kid with any deck, you need to make sure to know what turn or how many Dawn they have, or that they're going up to. And if they're going up to the later stages and you're not able to just get multiple life in a singular turn, then you should always leave the top card of their life alone if it's face up. That way then they can't change one of their supernova into blockers. And here we're just swinging at their Zoro, primarily to try to get a card out of hand. That way then when we swung with the Basil, they were less inclined to give us a card for that. And it gave us the upside that if they didn't give us a card, then they were going to give us that Zoro. Either way, we still have the whole burn strategy going on, and that's kind of the whole key point of our deck anyway. So here, they did burn us as well. And here I'm just thinking, do I trash that? And I decide yes, because while I could have kept it alive and been able to play out another Nico Robin and trashed another life and had 2 more swings, I would rather keep a couple good cards in hand, because this turn I'm most likely just going to go Enel and try to just keep them at a really low life total, meaning that I want them to play more of the 7 cost Law rather than their 8 cost Kid. And here they're just giving me some cards. I was able to swing 5k, then swing 7, and then I'm about to swing another 7. So they give me they do a block, and then they give me 2 cards out of hand to keep their attacker. But that is completely fine by me, because here I'm just able to go after that Zoro, get rid of that. So if they're not going to give me life, then they're going to give me their board. And here, now they only have the Basil and they have the Nico and their leader to swing with. So they're not going to be able to beat me this turn. They would have had to have the bigger card. And here they do swing 9 into our Enel, so we just use his effect to be able to keep him alive. And they swing once to trigger our effect, and then they're going to swing again. We're just going to counter out of it that way. That way then we still have a life, and this next turn we're most likely, well, we just drew this 8 cost Kid. Otherwise we probably would have just played the Ace, and I'm still thinking about just playing that Ace. But here we're swinging 5, seeing what they're going to do. So they did give me a counter. So what that means is we're going to do that, play out the Kid, burn their last life, swing for 9, and go for game. So here, if they would have not given me the 2k counter that they did when I swung with my leader, then I probably still would have just done a 6k swing, and then they probably would have Like, they needed to have 2 cards in hand that were counter to stop me from playing this kid. Otherwise, we would have just still played the ace, healed up, and just would have tried to go for game there. So I think we were going to win that turn no matter what. The big factor here is that we did keep them at 2 life with 1 life faced up. That way then when they did play their Cavendish, they couldn't give it blocker. But that is game number 1, so now we'll go on to game number 2. Alright, game number 2 is against Katakuri. This is one of the other big meta yellow decks. I do kind of say meta loosely because yellow's kind of not in a good spot right now. There's so many other aggro decks running around that it's kind of tough being a yellow deck player right now. But we're playing this burn version, and we were able to get second. So they're on their optimal curve, I would say, and we're on our optimal curve. Because they generally have a really good 3-Dawn play, which is on the field. Then they usually want to, on their 3rd turn, be able to swing, play Basil. That way then they're swinging for 7, getting all the fun stuff. Here they play a Kikinojo. And here we're just going to burn the top, and then just keep swinging. Our hand's not looking terrible here. The Kikinojo effectively is just going to be a 6k that we have to keep countering out of, because we really don't want to KO her, because that's 1 more life that we're going to have to deal with if we do. And here they play the Onami, and they're just doing a huge swing at life to trash the top. So we give it to them. They do a swing of 6 into our Basil. So I'm just going to 2k out of this. Then they swing 5 again. So I give them the other 2k. I need to keep my board because I need to try to rush them down and keep them at a low amount of cards in hand. So here we're swinging 5. We're going to swing 6. They take that one, so we're going to swing 5 again. And then we're just going to play out this kid, get rid of the top card of their life, which was huge. It was you're the one that should disappear. And then they're going to play their own kid, which procs our leader effect, which means we need to be real careful with this. Luckily, we get a beige trigger out of life. So here, we're just going to stop their leader from attacking. And then they swing for 7 still, so we're able to counter out of that. But this pretty much seals the deal for game, because they needed to go for game that turn. So if we didn't get that beige, then they would have been able to swing for a 6, and then swing for a 7, which they would have won. They did have a You're the One That Can Disappear still on top of their life, so they had 2 of those in life, back to back. But overall, this is kind of what you're wanting and hoping to happen in this matchup. I do think that Katakuri is vastly favored, because once they start getting to their late game, they're playing cards that are just constantly trashing your life, and your leader effect also requires you to discard a card to be able to regain a life. So effectively you're losing out on 2 cards every time. But that is game number 2. On to game number 3. Alright, game number 3 is against Vegapunk. He's kind of niche, you don't see him played a lot, but I do suspect that he will probably be one of the better yellow leaders come EDO2. He does get real decent support coming out at that point. And this time, for this list, we're playing the control version. So I wanted to showcase both lists, but I wanted to give you guys 2 copies of the burn list because that is the one that I recommend more, especially with the current looking meta that we currently have. But I did at least want to showcase the control for the people that do want to play more of the traditional Enel style. So here, it's more along the lines in this matchup of just keeping your opponent low on cards in hand, and they're always going to have cards in their life. So if you don't know what Vegapunk the leader does, he's a 2-life leader that's just yellow, but he can't attack either. But his effect is that once during your turn, you can pay a Dawn to put a 5-cost or less egghead character either on top of your life or put it onto the field. So a lot of the egghead cards get really strong effects because they're the primary cards for this deck, and you got really strong things like the 5-cost Nami that we run. You also have that Jewelry Bonnie on the field that allows you, if it has a Dawn attached to it and your opponent takes a life during your turn, then you get to draw 2, trash 1. It's a once per turn effect, but it's still a draw 2, trash 1. And then they also have Shaka, which is their 5-cost 6k blocker that plays itself from their life as well. So they got a lot of really strong cards that a lot of recursion from their life as well. So them being at 2 life is kind of fake. They're never really at 2 life. Here we're just swinging 9. We want to try to get them to give us that Shaka. That way then we can just Enel, or not Enel, we can Yamato 1 away. And we're still just trying to get cards out of their hand. But here we decide to just go for the Bonnie instead. That way then, if they keep these 2 Shakas up as blockers, then they're staying as blockers. This way they can't recycle their hand, or cycle their hand as much as they want. And here they're swinging for 9, we take it, and we top deck the best card in the situation, that 8-cost Kid, so we can get rid of that 1-cost event. If you don't know, that 1-cost event is if it's a trigger off of life, then it allows them to play a 5-cost or less egghead character from their graveyard for free. So that's their main way of getting back their characters from grave. And here, since we have 2 kids on the field, we're effectively each at the end of our turns drawing 2 and trashing 2. That's allowing us to keep a high total of 2Ks in our hand. Pretty much every card except for Shirahoshi is a 2K at this point in our hand. And we just have 3 really big bodies on the field. And as you can see, they're trying to go and get rid of these bodies, but it's already too late. We have too many cards in hand to counter out with, that there's just nothing that they can really do in this situation. We're just going to keep it going. We also have a Shirahoshi blocker on the field. Now we have a Yamato in hand. So here, we're just thinking about how do we want to do this. So we're just going to do a 5K swing. They take the free guard, and then we're going to do 6. They do that, so then we're going to swing 9. They take that life as well. It is a Luffy, so they got rid of our blocker. and then, yeah, they just don't have enough cards in hand at that point. So, if you're playing the control deck, this is a easier matchup for you. This is kind of how you want it to go, and this is the general game plan of the traditional Enel anyway. It's just keep a high amount of cards in hand, keep taking life, and just wait it out until you get to end game where you can go big body into big body into big body. And at that point, you're just avalanching your opponent. If you like this type of video and stuff, please give me a like, maybe subscribe as well. And I hope that you guys have a great day. Enjoy.